The day is here, Bills Mafia 2024 NFL Draft. Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott reassembling this team. Many people saying that this is a transitional year, but we have to listen to Brandon Beane's words, ultimately what he wants to accomplish in this year's NFL Draft. And he openly admitted that there are not 28 first-round grades per his analysis of this draft class. So it really raises the question, again, everyone has been talking about it, but trading up in this year's NFL draft for the prospect that we ultimately want. And obviously it takes two to tango. We have to find a trading partner to climb up. And it really depends on what players are going to be available and are we going to be able to trade up and get that particular player. Now, a lot of people are assuming that is going to be a wide receiver. And I think the chances of that are very high, considering that there's just so much depth at the wide receiver position. You know, not every team is going to need a wide receiver, right? And I think you could take a look at the top of the draft class, even with Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, the top three prospect wide receivers could easily be the first pick, first round, first wide receiver taken off the board in any other NFL draft, but Marvin Harrison Jr. clearly the clear-cut number one just because of his pedigree and everything that he presents. But interestingly enough here, Eric Moles and Khalil Shakir working together this offseason, and the Buffalo Bills YouTube, they just released their own video breaking down Eric Moles and his comments on Khalil Shakir, and he actually admitted that he reminds him of Marvin Harrison, not Marvin Harrison Jr., actually Marvin Harrison's father. And Eric Moles was drafted the same year as Marvin Harrison, and he was comparing Khalil Shakir to Marvin Harrison, which is very interesting to me. And you also see the catch rating for Khalil Shakir. You see other comments, NFL people saying like he could be a top 5 wide receiver. And I just think maybe the Buffalo Bills have the wide receivers on the team already that they're willing to develop. I mean, Curtis Samuel was signed to a 3-year deal. Khalil Shakir potentially playing on the inside and the outside. Don't forget, we retained Andy Isabella. He is still here. We have Justin Shorter, who's been here for a full year and off season now. He's a freak of nature, a big, tall, physical wide receiver, extremely fast, just totally raw. You know, and you look at Matt Collins, who we just brought in for 1 year. And also Brandon Beane's comments saying like Josh Allen has progressed to the point where he can get the job done without a true number one wide receiver. So it just really makes you wonder if the Bills would trade away a whole crap ton of picks to get a dynamic wide receiver to climb up for that wide receiver, or they consider maybe just trading up slightly for a different position. And you look at the other positions that the Buffalo Bills need, and you really look at even cornerback position. I know we have Khalil Shakir. I mean, we have Kaiir Elam. We have Rasul Douglas. We have Christian Benford. And the one thing that I see here is that Rasul Douglas, he's a little bit up in age. He's 31 years old. You know, like, is he going to keep playing at this top tier level? And, you know, we really don't know what's going to happen with Kaiir Elam. Like, is he going to finally step up this year? But it would be nice to have another cornerback as just like a depth piece on this team. And I don't know if it's really worthy of a first-round pick. If we stay put at 28th overall, I think it would make sense. To trade up for a cornerback doesn't really make sense. The two other positions I think the Bills could consider trading up for in the first round is actually defensive tackle and also defensive end. You know, Johnny Newton is a player that I really like. I like his character. I like his skill set. 6'2", 290 pounds, a little bit lighter, speedier. You know, kind of going to replace that Tim Settle role, not even Ed Oliver, right? I think they could mix and match, especially in pass rushing situations. I think he's fast enough, and he could actually play defensive end in some situations, right? And you really look at Von Miller. Like, Von Miller is definitely still eating up a big chunk of cap space for the Bills. And I think of it like, if we bring in a defensive end, if we draft a defensive end this year, let him develop for a whole entire year, maybe part ways with Von Miller this offseason, like coming off season after this season, save that money. We have a future defensive end that got to work with Von Miller, learn from Von Miller. It just makes a little bit of sense. And another position not a lot of people are talking about right now is actually running back. Like, we are literally down to, I mean, we do have 3 running backs here with James Cook, Ty Johnson, and Darrington Evans. But, I mean, Bills at 28th overall could get the cream of the crop and literally select a running back or trade back into the second round, accumulate more picks, and get a running back. You know, and also safety. Like, yes, we brought in Mike Edwards. He's a great safety, but he was only a 1-year deal. Matt Collins, a 1-year deal. You know, we have to supplement these losses. Maybe they're gone after next year. So I think the Bills could really go any way, whether it's trading up for a wide receiver, whether it's trading up for a defensive end or potentially defensive tackle if they slip, or just maybe staying put and selecting at that spot and getting the cream of the crop at running back, at safety, whoever is ultimately there for the Bills. So I really believe we used free agency as a tool to fill holes on this team so that we don't have to stretch or go absolutely crazy. And then you consider the progression of Khalil Shakir, consider that we brought in Curtis Samuel, you consider that, you know, Andy Isabella has been here for a full year. Justin Shorter is just a big-time secret on this team. No one really knows what he's going to present for the Bills. And also running back, too. You cannot forget. Like, the Bills, I'm thinking, are definitely going to be selecting a running back in this year's NFL draft. I don't know about the first round. Even linebacker, too. A couple of linebackers that we brought in via free agency, only 1-year deals. Yeah, we have Matt Milano, we have Dorian Williams, we have Terrell Bernard, but it would be nice, Nick Morrow, right? We got some other guys there, but it would be wise to bring in another linebacker that we could develop and just utilize on special teams. So, you know, Tyler Matakevich gone, you know, Tyrell Dotson gone, right? We had to fill some of these holes on this team. And, you know, just listening to what Brandon Beane said, right? He doesn't have 28 first-round grades, so that means he's going to have to likely climb up into the first round, or maybe people without first-round grades gets selected ahead of the Buffalo Bills, which would further push talent back towards us. So really, it's all going to depend on what shakes out before this draft today. Absolutely exciting time. You know, the Bills, I think, really wanted to transition this team before we got into the new stadium. Clearly, you know, Pagula's selling 25% stake, and I really think we wanted to turn the page well ahead of getting into the new stadium so that we have transition, that we are going to be good going into this new stadium. But I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this year's NFL